Hi everybody, and welcome to week 6 of Methods of Social Work Research. This week we're going to be talking about qualitative research designs and data presentation. For the last few weeks we've focused specifically on quantitative research, but as you know from some of your article critiques and your lit reviews, we know that there are some fundamental differences between quantitative and qualitative research, and so this week we will be focusing specifically on qualitative research. So the different elements of qualitative research design are what we'll be focusing on this week, and this is going to include qualitative research paradigms, so sort of some of the sort of schools of thought around qualitative research, qualitative sampling methods, transferability, strengths and weaknesses of qualitative design, interviewing, observation, the difference between etic and emic perspectives, and we'll also be talking about reflexivity, which involves sort of the researcher's self-awareness throughout the research process, and this becomes particularly critical in qualitative research because the researcher is in fact the research instrument. In terms of conducting interviews, focus groups, the researcher plays a much more sort of active role in the process, and therefore there's a lot more risk for bias in many ways. So we'll be learning about reflexivity and the implications of that. So as far as the objectives and readings this week, our objectives are that you will be able to identify the elements of the qualitative research process, and that you will be able to apply your knowledge about protection from harm and ethics through applying what you're learning to the film Avatar, which is, I think, sort of a fun way to wrap your head around some of these concepts that we're dealing with. In terms of reading, we're going to be reading Chapter 9 in the Holosko text. You're also going to want to read the Research Knowledge Base website pages related to qualitative measures and unobtrusive measures, which you'll see here. Provides, I think, a fairly comprehensive overview of qualitative measures, qualitative data, approaches, methods, and qualitative validity. This web page in particular, I think, provides you with a nice visual of some of the differences between the criteria for judging quantitative research versus qualitative research. Because these two different types of research have different components and methods, the way we judge them is also a bit different, although there are some parallels. So you'll recall in quantitative research we talked about internal validity and external validity. In qualitative research, what we're really talking about are concepts of credibility, how credible is the information that we've collected in our study, and transferability. How is what we've studied able to be transferred to another setting? Are the methods that we used able to be transferred to another setting? And it's a bit different than internal validity and external validity, but there are some parallels as well. Same things with reliability and objectivity versus dependability and confirmability. So I think this is a really important one of I think the most important pages within these web pages that you're asked to read this week. So I wanted to note that. Okay. So, and as I mentioned, so those are the readings, the Holosko text and the web pages. And then, as I mentioned, you'll be watching the film Avatar, which some of you may have already seen. You also have a video here, which is Brene Brown on vulnerability, which is from a TED Talk. And as always, you have your week 6 research overview slides, which I really suggest, as I always do every week, starting with these to sort of, give you a framework and to sort of ground you in what you need to know related to qualitative research so that you can, be applying that as you're watching the other videos in the film. There is also, regarding APA, a video on common punctuation issues, which I would encourage you to watch. I know that's not the most exciting thing, but in terms of making sure your writing is strong and that you're following APA, it's important to be aware of. And then we also have some supplemental videos. The concept of phenomenology is introduced. Grounded theory, which is a theoretical framework that is often used in qualitative studies. There's a short video providing an overview of that, narrative, and then participatory action research. And these videos provide nice introductions to some of the different types of qualitative research. So I encourage you to check those out. And as always, if you have any questions about this, to please email me or post in the Ask the Instructor forum, and I will be glad to answer your questions regarding the readings and objectives this week. Okay, so moving on to the assignments for the week. I'm going to start with the discussion posts here, and then I'll talk about the dyad assignment. In terms of your discussion posts this week, you will be having an initial post related to Avatar. So you're going to watch Avatar and answer one of the following questions, and you have about 21 questions to choose from. So please write the question that you're answering in your post, not just the number for the question, and you should also choose a question that has not yet been chosen by someone else in the class. So again, just select one of these questions, not chosen by someone else. And in your response, you should include one quote from the film that was meaningful to you. So I think that discussion is fairly straightforward, and that will be due Thursday. And then by Sunday, you should post a response to at least 2 of your classmates who do not yet have responses. And you want to describe what you've learned from your peers and what you can add to your peers' learning regarding the process of conducting qualitative research. Again, make sure you're adhering to the word limits and that you're submitting on time. And I think that otherwise is a fairly straightforward discussion post. All right. You also should be posting your program evaluation article critique. And then you are asked to follow up with 2 classmates to describe what you've learned from your peers and what you can add to your peers' learning regarding program evaluation articles themselves or the process of critiquing. And again, your initial post, so posting your program evaluation critique, is due Thursday, and then your follow-up responses to your classmates are due Sunday. And again, make sure you're following the word requirements, etc. All right. And then for your dyad check-in and discussion post, in week 6, you should be meeting by phone, Skype, Big Blue Button, whatever method you've been using, Google Hangouts, to wrap up your work on your final presentation. And by the end of this week, just one member this week, one member of each dyad or triad, should be posting a summary of your decisions and discussion in the forum, and also post the date and times that you met in the forum as well. And the final assignment, which we've been working toward over the last 6 weeks, is the dyad or triad quantitative-qualitative article critique presentation. So you're going to submit your quantitative-qualitative article critique presentation. You will upload it by the end of week 6, which is Sunday night. And in addition to uploading the PowerPoint by Sunday night, you're also going to upload it in the discussion area for week 7 discussion. And only one person needs to upload the presentation. You will be graded individually, but I only need it uploaded once. If anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to ask. And now we will jump back and actually look at more of the details of the presentation requirements. Okay, so I just wanted to talk briefly about the article critique PowerPoint presentation that you have been working toward in your dyads and triads over the past going on 6 weeks. In week 6, you're going to be uploading that PowerPoint presentation, and you should be, and everyone should be familiar with the template for the PowerPoint presentation. And I'll bring that up here so you can see it. Okay, so this is the template, and you should all be familiar with this by this point. But please make sure it's pretty explicit. Please make sure that you're following the instructions here of what to include in your slides. If anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to email me or to post in the Ask the Instructor forum. I will be glad to answer any questions related to these as you're working through them. But I just wanted to point out where they were in case anyone had not found them up to this point. So, and you'll see that template is located right here on the main page of the website under Major Projects and Assignments. In terms of the critique and expectations regarding grading, please make sure that you're following the rubric here below. Oops, sorry about that. Did not mean for that to play. You can watch that on your own. Okay, so here's the rubric. You automatically get 1 point applied as a result of having submitted your articles back in week 2. You get a point for completing steps 1 through 9 in the rubric. So you're going to provide an introduction, an overview of the articles presented. The title, abstract, purpose should be described and critiqued. The literature review described and critiqued. The sample and sampling described and critiqued. The data collection described and critiqued. The data analysis described and critiqued. Study limitations and future research described and critiqued. You also want to analyze the references and critique those. And then worth 2 points is the importance of the article's topic and problem described in relation to social work practice. So that's that so what and who cares that we've been answering in all of our critiques. And then you also, the critique of the writing clarity and readability is also worth 2 points. And a final point regarding proper use of APA. So you already have 1 point. Everybody starts out with 1 point because you've submitted your articles, and then the maximum points you can receive for the rest of the assignment is 14 points. If anyone has any questions about the grading rubric, again, please feel free to reach out to me, preferably earlier in the week rather than later. The other thing I wanted to point out, because this question has come up, is that for the PowerPoint presentation, only one person needs to upload the final presentation, and you are uploading the PowerPoint slides. You do not have to record audio with the slides. If you want to, by all means, you can, but that's not a requirement, and there's no extra credit given for doing that. So the requirement is that you're uploading the written PowerPoint slides. Another question that's come up is some people have asked about the length of the slides, that maybe for some of these areas in the rubric, they may have a shorter slide, and other areas there may be, a number of points on the slide, and the length is longer. And I think that's okay as long as you're addressing each of the items in the rubric. It is quite possible that you might have some areas where, you might have a little less to say than you do in others, depending on your topics and your articles. And I think that's all that I wanted to say about the assignment. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, post in the Ask the Instructor forum. Definitely ask those questions earlier in the week rather than later, since this is due Sunday night. But I really do look forward to seeing these final presentations, and I've enjoyed watching everybody's progress over the last 6 weeks. You all have some really interesting topics, and I enjoy this this assignment because I also learn a lot from you. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody has a great week, and I will talk to everybody soon.